I'm Joan Hawkins. I am one of the co-coordinators for the second Thursday spoken word series. And so every month, on the second Thursday, we have some kind of spoken word performance. Usually it's readings interspersed with music. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We're having a staged reading of a play by Mervyn Alphonse. And so we're going to, the way that tonight will work is I'm going to make announcements for the Writers Guild, and then we'll have a read-through of the script. Take a little break so you can get some more snacks or more to drink, and then we'll come back and have a little bit of a discussion because Mervyn's still working on the play. It would be nice to get feedback from him about what worked, what didn't, questions you have. And it's a little clunky, but many of us are reading multiple roles, and we don't have costume changes. And so when we're reading our part, we will hold who we are, and you'll have to try to remember when I'm a large woman and when I'm a teenage boy, for example. Okay. So, Second Thursday Spoken Word is sponsored in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, Bloomington Arts Commission, and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association, by the Writers Guild of Bloomington, and we always give a big shout out to Backspace that has been hosting us for over a year now. We wish to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University and the city of Bloomington were built on indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. So there are we sponsor a bunch of kind of ongoing series and events throughout the month. So there is a closed Facebook group that is called Third Sunday Write, where people write to a prompt. And people within the group, in the closed Facebook group, respond to what each other writes, usually by choosing a line that they find particularly compelling. So it's a virtual space where you can find writing prompts and the company of other writers. And if you are interested in joining that group, you should contact Shauna Ritter at shauna747@gmail.com, and please include Third Sunday in your subject matter. The Writers Guild will be having its monthly business meeting on Saturday, August 17th at 3 p.m. at the Monroe County Public Library downtown, room 214 on the second floor. We'll also be having our annual picnic the day after that, Sunday, August 18th at 1 p.m. at the Sycamore Shelter, which is the large shelter at Cascades Park. And we invite all members and interested parties to join us at the park for a lovely day of food, drink, fellowship, and poetry, and an open mic. The Guild will bring cold drinks and some main courses, so please bring a covered dish, a friend, something to share at the open mic if you'd like to read, and we look forward to seeing you at this year's picnic. The last Sunday poetry reading and open mic will be Sunday, July 28th, which is already passed, so we will do that. We are resuming our spoken word stage at the 4th Street Art Festival this year. So that will be Saturday, August 31st from 10 to 6 p.m. and Sunday, September 1st, 10 to 5 p.m. This Labor Day weekend is 2 full days of spoken word poetry, prose, storytelling, etc. And there's also a poetry on demand group where you can come up and you can ask poets to write a poem on any topic of your choice, and for a small donation, they will. If you're interested in reading or doing poetry on demand or just lending a hand with a setup or teardown, you should contact Tony Brewer and at this email address, demand4poetry@gmail.com. And finally, first Sunday prose reading at open mic, Sunday, September 1st at 4 p.m. English learners from Vital, the literacy program at the Monroe County Public Library, will share their words and stories. And these learners come from Peru, China, South Korea, Egypt, Iran, Brazil, and Taiwan. So come for a fun afternoon. There'll be an open mic following, and that will be at the Juniper Art Gallery and Cafe, 615 West Kirkwood. And please note the new starting time, of 4 p.m. Please no outside food or drink. And next month, for this event, the spoken word series, we're taking September off because we're all going to be exhausted from the spoken word stage at the 4th Street Arts Fair. So we will be reconvening Thursday, October 10th, 6 p.m., featuring poets A.S. Coomer from Kentucky and our own Grand Poobah, April Ridge, with music by Boyder Carr, Americans Answer to Ein Sturzende Neuwacht. All this information is available on our website or by liking or following us on Twitter, IG, or Facebook, or you can sign up for our newsletter. And the website is writersguildbloomington, all one word, .com, writersguildbloomington.com. Okay. So, and I need to get my phone. Okay, so I want to introduce Mervyn Alphonse, who is the author of tonight's play. Okay, so Mervyn Alphonse has been a member of the Bloomington community for over 20 years. He has been involved in the local theater scene as an actor and writer and has had his poetry presented in several regional publications. He took advantage of the recent COVID-inspired lockdown to try his hand at screenwriting, and so here we are. And so tonight we are going to be reading Dig Deep. And I'm going to put my phone down and then assume my position with my fellow thespians.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you very much for coming. So as we just heard, I started trying my hand at screenplay writing a few years ago during COVID. And I started out writing just a feature-length movie between 90 and 120 minutes. And just started teaching myself how to do it, reading stuff online, reading and watching stuff online. And so I had something that was between 120 and 90 minutes. And I knew it needed to go somewhere, but I could not, for the life of me, figure out what I should do next. And I had a couple of friends tell me, when I described the overall story to them, they said, "Oh, this sounds like a series." And I was like, "No, I'm having difficulty doing this. For the first time, I'm doing one episode, one full movie thing, and I don't think I should expand to try to do something that's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times what I'm doing." So I just resisted it until it became evident. Finally, I convinced myself, well, let me just see what would happen. And I broke it up, and it was really very interesting. It just started just flowing and going into areas that I had no intention. And that was a supremely satisfying, and continues to be a supremely satisfying experience when the thing just starts going and you're just kind of riding along with it. And so it was really, so I have 7 parts in a variety of completion now. There's still a massive amount of work to be done. But so this tonight here is the so-called pilot, the first episode, which still has a lot of work to be done. So hopefully you guys can help me out. All right. So one of the working titles now is The Deeper You Dig, and I should. No, sorry, no. I didn't think of this, but I should read the. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so this is the log line, so to speak. An undercover police officer finds herself in wildly uncharted territory when an assignment takes her back to a traumatic past and to a personal identity that she had hoped to permanently put behind her. So that's the very quick and dirty. All right. So, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with just the formatting of screenplay, there's the scene where the thing takes place and the location and whether it's interior or exterior. So I'll try to do that as painlessly as possible. Okay, so and we go. Interior prison cell block. A typical prison cell block, elevated landings housing individual cells on either side of a ground floor central area, to the tune of the white noise of loud, constant babble, and the clatter of shoes sliding across the floor, the clang of metal as prisoners are escorted by prison guards from their cells to their various destinations. Just another day as far from paradise as one can get. Interior, prison theater. The room was painted in a safe, neutral color many years ago. Now the paint is chipped and curling and stained in various spots. Mismatched bulkheads define the overhead ceiling. The tall ceiling is its only saving grace. Several sealed and painted over windows attest to the space's adaptive reuse from another function from bygone days. The room smells of artificial peach scent and dampness, tinged with an undefined compilation of other miscellaneous scents. A theatrical production is in progress. Several inmate actors are on a risen stage at the head of the room, going through a scene with the perfunctory overacting that one would expect from such a venue. The audience is populated by about 25 women of all shapes and sizes, sitting in rows of hard plastic chairs. They are all clad in yellow jumpsuits. Most of them are black. The audience is slouched in the back row by herself is Dora, late 20s. She paradoxically appears to be both bored and interested at the same time. The scene on stage comes to its conclusion and a smattering of applause emerges from the onlookers. Dora's hands remain folded in her lap. A large woman emerges from the audience and steps onto the stage. She plucks a microphone from a nearby stand and taps it loudly with her fingers, and a screeching thud assaults the ears of all gathered.
All right. Give it up for the Jaybirds. Come on, one more time. Give it up for the Jaybirds.
Thelma, a thin black woman in the audience, pipes up.
It's supposed to be jailbirds, y'all, but we gotta be all up in this pasty bullshit. That's why I left your asses. I keeps it real.
She cackles loudly. Several members of the audience follow suit.
Okay, Thelma, you had your 15 seconds.
I could do better than all them punks up there.
Well, then why didn't you? All you had to do was audition.
I ain't got time with this shit. I gotta be making toilet wine for my ladies.
Laughter erupts.
Okay, well then you ought to just shut the hell up then. Thanks for coming out and supporting the prison drama program. Don't forget, every month we hold.
A woman in the audience, Sheila, pipes up.
You know who should be doing this? Is Miss Hollywood back there. Why don't you get her up here if she's good?
Honey, anybody can sign up. If she wants to, she will.
I don't know why she doesn't do it.
Woman in the audience turns towards the back of the room. All eyes follow hers where they land on Dora, succeeding in looking as nonchalant as she possibly can. Dora rises abruptly and exits her row, makes her way past several other patrons hanging out in the peripheries and heads for the exit. She stops and turns.
Hey, Sheila! Next time I decide to get all sister solidarity with you and bare my soul and all that, feel free to reach a fat paw down inside my throat and rip something out, okay? Whatever it takes to shut you up.
Ooh, that sounds like a main event. Can I sell tickets to that?
Interior prison cafeteria. A bell rings and cacophony ensues. The dull drone of multiple conversations rushes to a crescendo. Chair legs drag on the floor, plastic serving trays bang and clatter as throngs of inmates begin to vacate the premises. Dora exchanges conversation with several other inmates. She heads off towards the kitchen while the majority make their way out the main doors. Montage of Dora working in prison. Dora's literally sweating it in the kitchen. Her clothes stick to her skin as she leans over a sink, vigorously scrubbing large and filthy pots and pans. The steam from the hot water rises, dampens, and stings. She rubs her face and eyes with the back of her hands. In the background, several other workers perform similar tasks as loud, abrasive, heavy metal music fills the air. Dora is on her knees, scrubbing the floor and cabinets. The vigorous motion knocks over an open bowl of flour, spills it all over herself and everywhere. End montage. She mutters darkly, starts wiping herself off just as a prison guard walks up.
You got a visitor. 2 of them, actually.
What do they look like?
Couple of suits. How you doing today, Slick?
Prison guard grins widely. Dora regards him with thinly disguised contempt, looks around and yells.
Hey, Sam! I got a visitor. Maybe even 2, imagine that.
Sam, 70s, one of the few men on staff, looks over.
Nope, I'm saving my imagination for Miss July later tonight. When you coming back?
Oh, Sam.
Sam laughs lewdly. Dora regards God, who flashes his mirthless grin at her once again. She finishes wiping her hands off, walks past prison guard. They both head out the door.
About fucking time.
Interior, prison meeting room. A bare, smallish room with muted overhead lighting, looking only slightly less disheveled than earlier. Dora sits across a metal table from 2 men, both clad in the aforementioned suits. A briefcase is open on the table, a few papers and files next to them. One of the men clears his throat and speaks. It's Fred, mid-40s, lean, upright, and uptight, balding and bespectacled. The other is Doug, his partner, impatient as he is unempathic.
Good to see you.
He nods hesitatingly with the merest hint of a smile, and his and Dora's eyes meet. Within a tacit and mutual acknowledgement of familiarity with each other lies another energy, clandestine, opaque, a subtle tension.
How are they treating you?
Dora rubs her fingers over a small but ugly scar on her forehead. The eyes are locked laser-like on Fred, who averts his. The other man sits with an air of impatience bordering on hostility.
How they treating me? Like shit, Fred.
Things are really busy now. I don't know if you've heard, but the city has opted to absorb our department.
No, they don't keep me up on the latest in law enforcement news in here. Tell you what though, they got cable, so I can kind of keep up on the police dramas. That's the best I can do. I'm binge watching one now. It's great. There was this episode about crooked cops the other day. The plot was kind of tired, but it was still sort of kind of entertaining. Felt a little bit close to the bone.
Okay, that's great. Could we get down to business?
Dora redirects her nuanced aggression.
Who's this?
This is Doug Finkel, my partner.
Doug Finkel. Hey, Dougie. I'ma do you a solid, even though the wrong foot that we just got off on is the same one I'd like to put up your ass. But hey, mark my words, watch out for this fucker, he's a tricky one. So, what can I do the pair of you for?
The question is, what can we do for you? We've got an offer that even someone with your apparently limited intellect can't refuse. Pardon the cliche.
Oh, we only just met, I think I'm in love.
How would you like to get out of this place?
That depends. Which one of y'all's dicks do I have to suck? I mean, been there, done that, right?
Fred almost blushes. Dora meets Doug's steely gaze with one of her own.
We have a job that you're eminently qualified to undertake. Eminently. And if you do it, you're a free woman.
Look at you, you sound all grown up.
Doug smiles humorlessly. Fred passes one of the folders on the table in front of him over to Dora. She opens and scans it.
What's this?
From the Attorney General. Read first, bark later.
Doug flips through it some more. Dora flips through it some more. Her mood shifts.
I'd like a moment alone with my partner, my former partner.
Gonna do some catching up?
Mama didn't raise no fool. On second thought, looking how close together your eyes are, maybe she did.
Fred and Doug exchange glances. With an abrupt scraping sound, Doug pushes his chair back. He rises, walks to the door, stops.
This goes in the report.
Right.
Doug raps on the door. It opens from without and he exits. Dora sizes Fred up.
I don't think you wear straight and narrow well, Fred. I mean, you always look the part, but then again, you always were.
What was all that shit about crooked cops? Not funny. At all.
Where'd you find that prick?
He was a sign. Listen to me. There's been a...
I'm rotting in this toilet for the last 18 months with years to go, Fred. Years. I don't see you for what, 3 or 4 months? And you come here with Doug? Talking about another job? Another job? Did you forget why I'm in here, and more importantly, why you're not?
You're in here because you were sloppy, and I'm not because I wasn't. Keep those two things separated, and your voice down.
Oh, I can talk as loud as I want. I don't have anything to hide in here. Oh, wait, maybe I do. The fact that I used to be a fucking undercover police officer. Maybe that little nugget I could squeeze under my left tit so no one finds out and puts a shiv in me. Yeah? Now you come in here with what? Redemption? You got some nerve, man. You got balls of steel and a heart of gold, let me tell you.
Quiet! You should be thanking Christ that the department buried that giant turd you pinched off, as it's not the word on the street. So here's the deal. Lucio McMasters is shooting a film. Are you ready now to listen?
Lucio?
McMasters.
Wheels turn furiously inside Dora's head, eventually slowing and clicking into place.
You gotta be fucking kidding me. You want me to...
Looks like you're getting the picture. Read the file. Shooting's already begun. If this is going to happen, it's gotta be today or never. You got 10 minutes.
Fred rises, heads to the door, bangs on it. A guard from the outside opens it, and Fred steps out.
Hey,
Fred turns.
they got a machine down there with Fritz's lemon pops. A lot of sugar, but you should try it.
There is a subtle, opaque sexual overtone to her delivery. Fred inhales deeply and leaves. The door shuts behind him. Dora settles into her seat. She picks up a sheet of paper and begins reading. Later, interior prison meeting room. Fred enters the room. The door closes behind him. He stands in place, silently regarding Dora at the table. She looks up at him.
Where's, Doug?
Fred stares unwaveringly at her. Dora looks back down at the papers in front of her. Close-up of Dora's hand. She holds a pen, hovering over a document.
Sophia is archetypal.
And this is a voiceover. Sorry, yeah.
Sophia is archetypal. She's, well, if you follow her arc throughout the whole play,
You could say that she ends up transmuting pain into something like, I don't know, light. It sounds cheesy, yeah. She's like a healer. She's everyone. But in some ways, she's nobody, too.
After a brief pause, she signs on the dotted line at the bottom of one of the pages in front of her. Close up, she signs the name Sophia Smith. Exterior, prison entrance. A guttural electronic alarm sounds, and a large wrought iron gate slides to the side. Inside the gate and adjoining walls are yards of asphalt and painted lines, but on the other side of this opening is unveiled a view of open spaces, flat green fields stretching on and away. Dora is dressed in street clothes. She and Doug and Fred step through the gate. A black sedan waits nearby at the curb. Dora takes a breath of liberation, looks around her. A flood of relief washes over her as she walks towards the car.
Hey, Slick!
From a nearby window, prison guard aims his index and middle fingers at her as he pantomimes cocking a hammer with his thumb. His grin is the archetypal grin of every vacuous, impotent bully to walk the earth. Dora opens the back door of the sedan and enters. She settles in as the two men get in front. The engine turns over, the car heads off, leaving Dora's world of incarceration behind. Interior, unmarked car. Dora has the back seat to herself. As Doug drives, Fred reaches back and hands Dora an open folder.
The communication we sent to Lucio expressing your interest and enthusiasm at the possibility of being included in the production. They've had an accident with one of the cast members.
Dora reads aloud.
This is gonna be so cool to see you guys again and get back into flow. Missed you, good times we had, blah, blah, blah. He bought this crap?
Apparently. Listen up. Discretion is of even more importance than usual. You are to have contact with absolutely no one from the department about this or any other matter. Understand?
Dora nods just as Doug tosses a large, thick envelope into the back seat. It lands right in her lap, making her jump.
The case.
Dora opens it and begins perusing the pages.
We've got several hours. Everything's in there. I suggest you bone up on things really quick.
Dora opens a folder, begins reading. After a bit,
What's this?
she passes the file between the front seat to Fred, points at a spot on the page.
They already assigned someone to the case weeks before your name and availability came up. We'll be working in tandem with him, unfortunately.
Dora continues reading as the car rolls on through vast rural expanse. Later, Dora stretches her arms and yawns, looks about her.
What are we doing?
Gas.
The car veers off an exit. It turns onto a two-lane highway and almost immediately pulls into a large convenience store. The car slows in front of an open gas pump.
How much longer?
Less than an hour. Stretch your legs if you want to. You want anything?
Dora shakes her head and exits the vehicle, stretches. Doug begins pumping gas as Fred heads into the store. As Doug fills the tank, Dora's attention is drawn to a small copse of trees off to the side of the building. She finishes stretching and heads off in that direction.
Hey, I know you've been institutionalized and all, but here on the outside, the bathroom's on the inside.
Doug grins. Dora turns to face him.
Last I checked, the whole world is all one giant toilet, Doug. And as a resident turd, you yourself should know that.
Followed by Doug's sardonic stare, Dora gets to the trees and continues walking until she disappears from view and eventually comes to a stop. Later, she rises from a squatting position at the foot of a tree, a damp patch of earth at her feet. She pulls her slacks up, leans against the tree, rubs her hands on the bark, rubs her cheek against it, smells it, savors the experience. She looks through the foliage, sees that Fred and Doug have completed their respective tasks. She looks up at the tree.
You're welcome.
She turns and heads back to the car. Interior, unmarked car. The unmarked sedan rolls on, and the gray form of a city skyline looms ahead. Interior, posh-looking house. A large house in an upscale-ish neighborhood, The sedan pulls up to the curb, comes to a stop. Fred and Doug disembark first. Dora gets out, looks around. She takes in the opulent style of the residence.
Somebody's making it.
Let's go.
The three of them walk towards the front door. Interior, posh house, briefing room in the posh house. A large second floor office space located inside the residence. A few framed and tasteful prints adorn the pastel walls. Out of one of the generously proportioned windows sits a view of the affluent surroundings. 4 men are in attendance. Thaddeus sits at the head, and the other 3 on either side of him. Fred, Mr. Bickle, and Mr. Joy. Dora has an entire side of the lacquer table to herself. On the table are placed 3 neatly arranged folders and papers and a single open briefcase. Flamboyant, grandiose, and obviously in charge, Thaddeus kicks off the exchange.
All right, we meet.
Where's Doug?
Thaddeus's brow furrows. Fred fails to hide his mild exasperation. Mr. Joy rises from his seat, clears his throat.
Dora, this is Thaddeus from Federal and his assistant, Mr. Bickle. Is that right?
Mr. Bickle nods and grunts through bulldog jowls.
Thank you, Mr. Joy, for making your home available to us. Welcome, one and all, and let's get right to it. I trust all documents have been read and signed on lines dotted and otherwise, yes?
None of them were dotted, actually.
Once again taken out of his flow, Thaddeus hesitates for a second and then rallies.
Well, I'll have that little detail taken care of for the next lucky soul that walks a mile in your shoes.
Thaddeus glances down at Dora's ratty loafers. Dora involuntarily shifts her feet.
All right, time is of the essence, and as such, regular procedures need to be expedited. Do they still say that? Still say expedited?
No one around the table knows how to respond.
I haven't heard that used in polite company for a while. Anyhow, you come, as they say, highly recommended despite your current situation. Can you say with great certainty, honesty more to the point, that your somewhat checkered history is behind you, given the rewards that such a successful completion of this assignment will afford?
Dora nods sanguinely.
The past, as they say, is prologue. Hopefully not in this instance. But there are some aspects of your history that are instrumental to our success in this venture, yes? I've got a good feeling about this one. With your prior affiliation with all parties involved, you are going to crush this.
Thaddeus grins, shark-like.
Hey, crushing's good and all, but I got a question.
Shoot.
You said upon successful completion of the job. So suppose, through no fault of my own, we're not successful. What then? More to the point, what happens to me if this doesn't work out? Do I get kicked back to the big house to rot for 5 more years?
5? Seems excessive for your indiscretions.
My lawyer sucked ass. Nice guy though.
Be that as it may, we'll have to play it by ear on this, I think. All contingencies have to be looked at.
Yeah, but this particular contingency is definitely of concern to me, if to no one else. It wasn't mentioned in the Attorney General's offer, was it?
Thaddeus's eyes harden a bit. Fred looks uncomfortable.
I'll make it a point to take it up with her later and address that particular issue. Until then, though,
I need that particular issue addressed now before I continue any further.
Thaddeus leans back in his chair, his lips tightening.
Well, maybe we could just forget the whole thing and you can kick yourself back to the big house, as you so poetically put it, right now, and see how that strikes your fancy.
Oh, fine, let's do that then. Anybody got a pair of cuffs on them?
Dora holds out her arms, her wrists touching each other. Tension in the room. Fred clears his throat.
I think we all want the same thing, and we're all working together to that end. Maybe Mr. Ulrich can expedite his revisiting of the terms of the agreement with the Attorney General while things are in motion?
Fred looks towards Thaddeus, whose face, after a suitable pause, assumes a vaguely concessional expression. The temperature in the room recedes. Dora reluctantly retracts her arms and settles back into her chair. Thaddeus straightens his tie, smiles smarmily, reaches for a thin stack of 8x11 glossies. He pulls one out and sets it flat on the table for all to see. It's a headshot of a man in his late 20s, grinning broadly.
All right, all parties I believe you're familiar with?
Dora briefly regards Thaddeus, then turns her attention to the images on the table.
So, Lucio McMasters graduated in 2004 with a degree in fine arts, which he appears to be finally putting to use. There's been a death in the cast of his movie, which falls in our favor, and of which I trust you've been briefed.
Dora stares at the shiny image of Lucio's visage, the emotion in her eyes unreadable. She looks up at Thaddeus.
Did they send the script?
We weren't sent a copy. I assume when you're out there, that'll be taken care of.
Thaddeus abruptly and sternly shifts his gaze to Mr. Bickle, who snaps to attention, clears his throat.
You're aware that Morgan Dukakis has been on the case for 3 weeks already and has provided valuable intel which we believe has been of great value to our progress. It has been...
And I hope that this fact serves to smooth over any residual static from the joint nature of venture. 2 heads being better than 1, yes?
In a manner that he appears to have become accustomed to, Mr. Bickle absorbs the discomfort of being rudely interrupted.
Especially when the one is one Morgan Dukakis. We could have waited.
Till now? No, we couldn't. Moving on.
Thaddeus places another picture next to the first. An older man's celluloid, pensive visage stares up at everyone.
Happy McMasters, patriarch. Happy McMasters, patriarch. White-collar criminal par excellence with odd altruistic urges. Quite deceased at the moment, but back when he wasn't, was reputed to have been involved with a very powerful lodge in the area with strong political clout.
Close-up of an older man's face, graying hair, distinguished features. Thaddeus nods slightly towards Mr. Bickle, who continues.
Hated modern technology, computers, supposed to be in possession of hard copies of every transaction he did up until.
And you think the particular information we might need might still be around?
Thaddeus glances at Mr. Bickle, allows for a brief dramatic silence, then takes over the narrative.
This will be a 2-pronged approach. If information relevant to our inquiry is there to be found, we need to find it. And that leads us to the other prong, which involves some recently acquired information from the aforementioned Mr. Dukakis.
Thaddeus reaches into a folder, pulls out another 8.5x11 glossy image and lays it down on the table. It's a full color copy of a sigil, a symbol, stylized in black, white, and yellow. Lying there on the table amidst the other papers and folders, it emits a subtle but powerful vibration. And to Dora, it sounds as if her muted gasp has echoed throughout the entire room. She barely veils her shock as, with some effort, she steadies her breathing. Quick flashback. A teenage Dora stands staring into a room through an open door, staring at an image of the self-same symbol hanging on the wall. And a quick flashback.
This is believed to be a logo of sorts, of a sham shell company that differed from all the other fake shells that were used to launder money. The word from Mr. Dukakis is that this might be an actual business entity that did and maybe still does exist. We don't know. Mr. Dukakis.
Mr. Dukakis presented this at our last meet and greet. It seems worth investigating, as it may provide the missing link we need. Connect that company, if it is a company, to Platinum Portfolio Incorporated, and we could be in business.
Thaddeus regards Dora, oblivious to the inner turmoil beneath her placid veneer.
All right, I don't need to, but I always try to meet them in person before they go under, and definitely in your case.
Thaddeus leans in. There is a look in his eyes akin to seduction, It has precisely the opposite effect on Dora.
What's your backstory?
Dora steadies her emotions.
4 years at North Webb. 2 years internship at, I forget the name, it's a small not-for-profit, just a few miles away. 2 more years part-time at the Playhouse in Wisconsin. 3 years at Carabao. How's that?
Tell me, why did you get into this line of work?
Dora stares uncomprehendingly.
This line of work.
Momentarily caught off guard, Dora responds.
I'm sure you've done your homework and read my file.
Thaddeus regards her slyly.
You ever see Confessions of a Dangerous Mind?
What?
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Ever see it?
I don't know what that is.
It's a film about the host of that 60s game show, The Gong Show. Heard of that, perhaps?
I think I've seen it actually.
So the host, Chuck something or other, was supposedly a hitman for the CIA at the same time he was serving as the master of ceremonies for the program. So when the couples on his show, when they won trips to, I don't know, Paris or wherever, he went with them as a chaperone and also killed select targets for the CIA at the same time. They picked the prize-winning cities, locations of their targets. A unique twist of the undercover game.
Why are you telling me this?
It's not the Gong Show, it's the dating game.
What?
It was the dating game, not the Gong Show.
You've seen it, yes? Not the show, but the movie.
It was a long time ago, I don't remember everything. What's this about?
Thaddeus takes his time, turning his attention back to Dora.
Trust me, you should watch it as a precautionary measure.
He grins, a knowing grin.
Okay then, we're lit green for go?
In response, Dora makes steady eye contact with Thaddeus.
Excellent. Talk to Mandy out front for final preparations, logistics and such. You'll spend the night here, do some light shopping this evening, personal effects. One of our officers will accompany you. You leave in the morning for the East Coast. Learn your lines.
Thaddeus rises from his seat. The other men follow suit and casual chatter ensues.
I've got a question. Did Mr. Dukakis say how he came by that symbol, the logo?
You know, funny you should ask. Apparently he stole it off someone's wall. Not recommended procedure, but I've been made to understand that Mr. Dukakis and Unorthodox are close acquaintances. But the more pertinent circumstances surrounding his acquisition, you can find in the report.
Dora nods.
Where's the bathroom?
Take a left out of the door, straight down the corridor, the second door on the left. You'll see it.
Dora takes one last glance at the image on the table and turns to leave. Fred tacitly tries to catch her attention, but she heads out the door and is gone. Interior, posh house, bathroom. Dora enters, closes the door behind her, lurches over the toilet bowl and begins violently retching. Just like that. She rises, washes her mouth and face, collects herself, leaves the bathroom. Interior, department store. Passing by under a large Target sign, Dora proceeds down an aisle flanked by stacked merchandise. She pushes a shopping cart filled with various personal items. Shoppers filter to and fro around her as mindless music floats in the background. Store announcer. Take your items to the cashier. The store will be closing in 30 minutes. An attractive-looking man in a black leather jacket and jeans, plain clothes, walks a few steps in front of her, idly glancing about him. Dora's eyes scan the merchandise in the aisle, then they settle on plainclothes's jean-clad buttocks. She stops in front of a rack of clothes, lifts a hanger off, places it on the rack hanging from it in front of her torso. She calls out to plainclothes.
Say, what do you think?
Looks okay.
Would this on a chick make you want to grab her up and, I don't know, whisk her over to Red Lobster maybe?
Maybe.
Dora tosses it into the cart where it settles atop a growing pile of purchases. She and her escort continue down the aisle. Interior, Mr. Joy's residence, that's the posh house. In mid-conversation and loaded up with shopping bags, Dora and plainclothes cumbersomely enter the front door. Mr. Joy appears from the kitchen, smiles warmly at them.
Got everything you think you might need?
Dora sets her bags down.
Oh, and then some. Did a little shoplifting too, for just for old time's sake.
Dora brandishes a jacket, holds it over her torso. Plainclothes and Mr. Joy exchange a glance.
Relax. Maybe if it was goodwill.
Well, you know where your room is. I'll be up for a bit if you need anything.
Thanks.
Mr. Joy leaves. Dora turns to plainclothes.
Cool. Well, thanks for helping me out there.
No problem. You really got a lot of stuff there.
Hey, they're paying.
Anyhow, I gotta head. Take care.
Thanks again.
Plainclothes turns to go, then stops.
So, you were in prison? I overheard.
Yeah? Go ahead, you want to ask. You know you want to ask.
I'll guess something with a little more oomph than a 5-finger discount.
You take me to Red Lobster, I'll tell you all about it.
For a moment, Plainclothes looks as though he might consider it, then common sense prevails.
I gotta go. I've got dinner with the wife.
Dora gives him the eyes.
Well, have a good night then.
Almost sheepishly, Plainclothes grins and heads out the door. After a bit, Dora walks over and peers out the window. She follows Plainclothes' gait with quietly desirous eyes as he walks down the path and enters his car. She gathers her purchases and heads down the corridor to her room. Interior, Mr. Joy's guest room. Dora enters, lugs in the last of her purchases, plops down on the bed. She looks about her, picks up the case folder, opens it, pulls out a photo of Lucio McMasters.
Yeah, boy.
She opens the case file, begins reading. Exterior, West City Airport. A taxi pulls up in front of the departures airport level. Dora and the driver disembark. The latter walks around to the rear of the car and extracts Dora's luggage. Interior, West City Airport. A typically busy airport terminal atmosphere, many people both in motion and standing around in small clumps scattered throughout an enormous high-ceilinged area. The white noise of constant babble punctuated by the dull, booming electronic drone of flight announcements. Dora stands in a line of people waiting to enter a security checkpoint. She discreetly scans the surrounding area and her eyes see what they're looking for. She flashes a quick nod. Over the way in front of a food court, a man in an overcoat sits alone at a table sipping coffee from a paper cup. It's Fred. With equal discretion, he acknowledges Dora as the line she is in inches forward. She fumbles for her documents as she approaches the checkpoint. Fred finishes his coffee, gathers up his coat. He picks up a rolling duffel from the floor and walks towards a huge electronic notice board. He stares at it for a few moments and then heads off towards another of the airport's departure gates. Exterior, West City Airport. A passenger jet rises from the tarmac and arcs towards the horizon, contrails in its wake. Exterior, East City Airport. Dora wheels her duffel along the external second-floor landing of a motel. In the background, a plane noisily swoops by. She stops in front of one of the rooms, reaches into her pocket for a key. Interior, motel room. The door opens and Dora enters a standard, cheapo, close to the airport motel room. She puts the duffel on the floor, sits on the bed. She checks the time, clicks on the TV, relaxes on the bed. Later, her jacket and shoes strewn on the floor, Dora is asleep on the bed as a knock sounds on the door. She rises, rubs her eyes, goes to the door, opens it. Her eyes signal both recognition and amusement at the sight of her visitor.
You are something else, man.
Interior, sound stage. Two older teenagers, A boy and a girl sit on the floor of a large bedroom conversing.
I heard what you're saying, but that's bullshit.
When I walked all the way from Tim, just kept fucking light, just so I could.
Shut it, girl. You done fucked up.
Pull back to reveal. It's a sound stage with lights, camera, and action. The set is bathed in nuanced artificial light. Director and motley crew look on in silence as the teenage thespians go through their motions. Among the few onlookers are Dora and Lucio, who's late 20s, lanky and hyperactive. He buries his insecurities beneath awkward aggression. There is a muted and palpable energy between them. Off to the side lurks Jay, the director, 40s and driven with visions of perfection that often only he can see. His demeanor is quaint and somewhat askew.
Okay, cut.
A cardigan tied around his waist, he leaps off his director chair and approaches the actors with the air of a big cat stalking prey. He naps the script from the girl's hands and quickly scans it, his lips muttering wordlessly. He thrusts the script under her face and urgently hovers a marker over it.
Okay, we're going to, lose this, and lose that.
Are you supposed to be playing my lines just like that?
Just like that, sweetheart. And sorry to break it to you, but they're not your lines, they're his.
Jay cautiously looks over at Lucio, sees that he is in conversation with Dora.
And mine.
He aggressively continues his editing. Dora and Lucio converse.
What do you think?
I don't know, I'm just seeing for the first time, Luke.
No, you're not.
I just got here. No script. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, that there was just some extra stuff I added.
Added to what? What are you talking about?
Lucio grins cryptically.
Let me show you around. Come on.
Exterior, McMaster's grounds. They exit the soundstage and step outdoors. About 50 yards away sits a large dwelling. It's the McMaster's residence, sitting on several acres of pastoral real estate, flanked by a tree line that snakes off and into the distance, behind which begins a sprawl of dense forest. No one is around, save for a few cast members circulating close by.
Over yonder, there's your trailer. Baby blue. Let's go.
He points over the way to where a blue trailer sits among several others, tucked into the tree line about 100 yards away. They proceed in that distance. As they draw nearer, Lucio yells out,
Sid! Hey, Sid!
No response is forthcoming.
Where the fuck? Oh, right on.
Sid, an older, overweight gentleman in the 60s, rounds a corner of the next trailer over. He's a night watchman by night and the chief cook and bottle washer by day.
You got it all cleaned up?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sid walks up, fumbling into his oversized pockets. He extracts a snarled, enormous ball of keys and picks through it. He selects one and fits it into a padlock on the door of the trailer, tries to turn it to no avail.
Nope.
He tries again with another key.
Nuh-uh.
How about today, Sid?
Well, you know that shaft is a bad mother.
Sid waits for Lucio's response to no avail.
I say that shaft is a bad mother.
Lucio looks nonchalantly on. Sid, psst, in derision. He finally locates the correct key, opens the padlock, and begins to walk off.
Hey, Sid. Shut your mouth.
The two men yuck it up and Sid wanders off, keys a jangle. Interior, Dora's trailer. The interior is pretty sparse and somewhat untidy. A worn love seat, desk and chair, and a frameless futon mattress on the floor. A beaten-looking wardrobe sits in the corner. A few loose items lay strewn on the floor, and one of the panes from the louvered windows is missing.
Huh. That's not the Regency, but I guess I'll settle.
Lucio takes a gander of the loose items on the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Sid. I'll get his ass to finish up later. Not too bad though, right?
Right?
Dora bends down, picks up one of the objects off the floor.
What's that?
It's a necklace.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. That was probably Rhonda's. I'll take that.
Dora hands it to Lucio. She takes one last unapproving look around the premises as they both exit. Exterior, McMaster's grounds. They head back to the soundstage, the blue trailer receding behind them.
Rhonda's?
What?
You said that necklace was Rhonda's, right? Is that the one I'm replacing?
Yeah.
Well, whatever it was that happened, how'd that happen again?
Well, she stuck her head out the window of a car doing 70. She had a scarf on, caught on a car going the other way.
Holy fuck! And that's her necklace?
Yep, necklace? What do you know?
Dora stares incredulous at his callous nonchalance. Lucio grins back at her.
Hey, it's me, Lucio. Did you forget?
I guess I did. It's all coming back to me now. Jesus, Lou.
They retrace their steps back to the soundstage. Some of the crew hang around, chatting. Lucio looks over beyond the house.
Hey, it's Mama. Drew and Max, too.
Beyond the house in the distance, 3 figures are visible, walking together.
Oh man, Mama and Drew too.
That's what I said. Drew and Carrie are still around. Drew's an even bigger asshole now. He's been running the show since Pappy died. He sticks his big snout around the set every so often. Yeah, keep walking, jackoffs. Not you, Mama. So, what about you? What's been going on? You ever get hitched or anything?
Hitched? Nah, dodged a bullet once though.
Looking at you, I'd say you dodged a lot of bullets.
Was that flirting? Are you flirting with me?
I'm just sizing you up is all.
Oh, for what?
Duke, an edgy, nervy man in his mid-50s, walks by. He's wearing a headset and is unshaven and shabbily dressed.
Duke, hey, we gotta have that scheduled tomorrow by noon. Track guy's got the material and he's coming by. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Jay said he called him to reschedule.
And I called a reschedule afterwards. It's back on. Get on it.
Well, I can't now. I have to wait on Stanley to hand off the final print.
Did I just say you're in charge of it? Then you're in charge of it. Do your fucking job.
Lucio stares down Duke, who swallows his anger and walks off.
Hey,
Duke turns.
get me some damn coffee, yeah?
Lucio laughs derisively. Duke drifts away.
So that show you were telling me about that you did was in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah. It wasn't traditional. It was kind of like, you remember Laurie Anderson's stuff from the 80s, but in like a montage of different short plays. It was, anyhow, I worked with some Steppenwolf.
They converse.
Take it down.
They converse as the dusk settles, as they head towards the side entrance to the residence. Interior, McMaster's kitchen. In a spacious kitchen, Lucio and Dora sit on opposite sides of a large table. A folder lays on a wooden surface between them.
Writer, actor, producer. I'm impressed. I'm wondering how come you didn't direct as well. Who's the guy with the sweater?
Jay, he's a real director. Well, kinda. He used to direct pornos.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where'd you get the money to do all this?
Platinum portfolio management. Or whatever the fuck they call it nowadays. You can't choose your family, but you can leech off the family jewels. Literally.
Right.
And hey, make sure you get that monologue down pretty good. You're gonna have enough time to because it's one of the last things we shoot, but it's got to be powerful. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's last in the story and the shooting schedule both. I want it to rock.
Well, if you want it to, quote unquote, rock, you should probably put a script in my hands first, right?
Oh, yeah, shit, right. Oh, you're gonna love this.
Lucio pushes the folder over to her.
You're gonna so love this.
Dora looks curiously at Lucio, opens the pages, flicks through it. As she continues looking, her attention intensifies. She peers closer, flips pages.
What is this?
You better know what it is.
This is the thing we did in high school.
Lucio's grin becomes wider.
That competition we won. No way.
Fucking way. I'm adapting it. I changed the title.
Dora flips to the cover page. The film title leaps off at her.
Fish nuggets?
Yeah.
Wasn't it called? What was involved?
We called it The Journey Within. So gay.
You changed it from The Journey Within to Fish Nuggets?
Lucio maintains his grinning demeanor. Dora continues flipping through the script and her eyes widen as they come to rest on one of the characters' name. Close-up of the name, Sophia. Quick flashback. Back in prison, Dora signs the name Sophia Smith on the documents presented to her. End quick flash. The kitchen door opens and Mama, 60s, rotund and ebullient, emerges with several shopping bags strapped around her arms. Dora quickly pivots from her reverie.
Hey there! Hi, sweetie. So good to see you again. Look at you.
Look at you! You just look just like I remember. You look good.
Dora and Mama embrace.
Sorry I'm late. I had some errands to run before I got the food. Look what I got.
She reaches into one of the bags and extracts a few styrofoam containers, plops them on the table, pops the top off.
Smell that.
Oh, what is it?
Borghini's, the best Italian in town. In the whole damn state, I think. Let's eat.
They settle into chairs around the table, and Mama begins to unload the rest of her bounty. Later, Lucio, Mama, and Dora are finishing their meal in between Dora updating her life path.
So, I do 2 more years, part-time, at the Playhouse in Wisconsin, and then the next 3 years, I worked at Carabao. And now I'm here.
And you're here now and you're in the movie? That's so cool. So you must be real excited to be back, huh? Are you planning to look up any old friends, whoever's still around, or check out your old stomping grounds while you're here? Of course you are.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say I'm really sorry about Pappy.
Yeah, we all are.
A somber look crosses Mama's eyes.
He's not here anymore, but I keep as much of him around as I can. All his clothes, belongings, everything. Keeps him close to me.
You're both just a couple of giant hoarders is what it is. I bet that's how you met.
You know, that's exactly how we met.
They both share a laugh at the private joke.
Well, I gotta use the bathroom. It was down the hall outside.
You know where it is. I'm sure you remember. Go right ahead.
I'll be right back.
Dora exits. Interior, McMaster's bathroom. Dora splashes water on her face as the faucet hisses a stream of water into the basin. She turns it off, pats her face dry with a hand towel. She stares deeply into her reflected eyes in the mirror, composes herself, and exits the bathroom. Interior, McMaster's great room. From a downstairs corridor, Dora emerges into the great room. She silently takes in the ambiance of the dimly lit, tall-ceilinged area, the large leafy house plants and tasteful wall-mounted light fixtures. The stairs to the second floor draw her eyes. After quick deliberation, she walks over to them and proceeds upwards, moving quickly and quietly. Interior, McMaster's upstairs hall. She walks past a balcony overlooking the great room and heads down along the corridor. She stops in front of the door on her left to discover to her surprise that it's sealed shut and painted over. She runs her fingers over the molding of the now defunct doorway.
Happy.
She looks further down the corridor, heads towards the next door down on the same side. She tries it, finds it open, and sticks her head cautiously inside.
Hello?
No response. Interior, the adjoining office. The interior is dimly lit, shelf-lined walls, a couple of sofas, 2 desks and a coffee table. A picture on a wall of a group of people huddled together. They pose in front of a large fish. One of them is young Pappy. She sweeps the room with her eyes and they come to rest on the door in the corner, situated in a wall that appears to be shared between this room and the sealed-off room next door. She takes one last look around and exits, closes the door behind her, and heads back the way she came. Interior, McMaster's kitchen. Mama and Lucio in mid-conversation.
Did you try to get him involved like I asked you to? Maybe if you'd approach him like that, he'd...
Come on, it's Drew we're talking about. You gotta be kidding. He doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Don't swear when you're speaking to me. Look, all I've been saying, and I'll say it again now, if you just
The door opens and Dora returns from her expedition. Mama smiles at her.
find everything okay.
Oh, yeah. The house, everything looks just like I remember. It's so great you guys are still here. That's awesome.
This house is home, always has been. Up till a few months ago, it's been mostly just me and a few employees, but having all these other people and activity around now, I absolutely love it. It's so good to have you back.
Dora smiles and nods. She has a brief, pensively reflective moment which Mama interprets as fatigue.
Oh, you tired thing. What a long day for you. Do you like your trailer?
Dora casts a glance at Lucio, who grins reflexively.
I'll be getting a hotel room for the night, I think.
It'll be fine tomorrow.
Oh, you can stay in one of the guest bedrooms, honey.
Oh, thanks. I feel like I just need my own space for tonight, you know? You'll be seeing plenty of me soon enough, though. Don't worry.
Well, let me just... Okay, can we talk shop for a bit? I used to...
Ma, come on.
Shut up! I used to direct. Well, it was just community theater back in the day down at the PCT. You remember that? But I had a good run with it. I really did.
I never knew that.
I loved it. But the boys were getting to that age, and, well, so was I. I used to love bringing Lou by to watch. He loved it, too.
I don't remember that.
Of course you don't. But anyhow, I know you haven't had a lot of time with this, but are you getting into your character? Do you have any particular exercises used to help you flesh out character? What's her name again, your character? Sophia?
I just got the script just now.
Just now? Anyhow, when you're up and flowing, I always use this with my actors and it always helps out. So when you're ready, or when she's ready, ask of your character in this life, in her life, what is the most important question she can ask herself? The most meaningful, the most revelatory.
The most meaningful.
Yes, I know, different directors do things their own way, but, well, I can only speak from my own experience, and it seems as if...
Dora's features dull over as Mama's voice fades into the background. Flashback. Interior bare room. Dora sits in a chair on one side of a metal table. She looks tired, worn down. A gray man in a cheap suit, attorney, sits across from her. A low hanging lamp hovers overhead.
Do you regret doing it?
What, the crime? The bullshit afterwards that might get me the time.
You want? Do you?
End flashback.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I might have done that before. I'll try it.
I guarantee you it'll shake something loose. He's got to get moving on this, yes? You didn't send the script? What's wrong with you?
Lucio shrugs.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Mama rises with a big smile, spreads her arms.
So good to see you again.
Exterior, McMaster's residence. Lucio and Dora walk towards a parked vehicle.
Say I'm a fucking genius. I mean, we used to dream about this, right?
Well, not about this in particular.
Yeah, about this in particular. You don't remember? And hey, I'm gonna get to see you play Sophia for the first time.
Dora's eyes lose focus.
Not just you.
Oh yeah, I forgot about, well, alright, let's get out of here.
They enter the car, Lucio starts it up and it rolls away. Under the view of the two men who they both earlier observed strolling with Mama in the distance, Drury, late 30s, clad in business casual. His calm demeanor disguises a shrewd, controlling nature. And Max, 70s, loyal employee of the family for many years.
Well, she is not a little girl anymore. Easy on the eyes, I'd say.
Drury stares pensively.
We've been dragging our feet long enough. We need to clear that space immediately.
Okay, where to?
Well, a landfill would be ideal, but I suspect Mama wouldn't go for that.
Max chuckles and shrugs. The two men walk on. Interior, Lucio's car. As the car moves away, Lucio chats animatedly. Dora listens politely, but beneath the engaged expression, the emotions resonate with a subtle disquiet. Binocular view. A pair of binoculars are trained on Lucio's departing vehicle. The binocular view then jerkily shifts to Max and Drury strolling back towards the McMaster's dwelling. Exterior. Off in the distance. The binoculars are lowered to reveal Fred's taut features squinting into the distance. He puts away the field glasses, takes a breath. He pulls out his wallet, extracts a passport-sized photograph of Dora, stares at it. He purses his lips and shoots a thin stream of spittle onto its glossy surface. He then proceeds to rub his thumb over it, smearing his fluids over it. His eyes glaze over slightly and he exhales heavily, a satisfied, heavy expulsion of breath that carries a convoluted emotional energy. That's it. And being in the audience for these types of readings, it can be some work. I want to applaud you for that, for doing the work of having to sit, and because it can be a little bit of a plot to listen to all these things read, but thank you very much for being here. So I guess we're
going to introduce everybody first, and then we're going to take a break.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So once again, thank you all for coming. So Zilia, Balkansky-Sellés, Erin Strole, April Ridge, our narrator and store manager and the writer of the author. Peter Kaczmarczyk, Shayne Lauder, and Zobel. So take a little break, get some snacks and something to drink if you like, and chat among yourselves. We want to come back and have a conversation with the cast, and Mervyn is hoping for questions, suggestions, ideas, anything that can help with him, really polishing this. So thank you. So get up, stretch your legs. So we want to get started with questions, comments, things that need clarification or that you didn't understand. I know that when we read this, when we did our first read-through of the table reading at my house, we were talking about all the multiple time levels and all the layers in the story. And we had a lot of questions about, like, in future episodes, where was that all going to go? And it's going to become even more complicated. So does anybody have a question that you want to start out with, either about that or about anything else? Hello.
Well, I have a comment. It was a great teaser for where does this go?
Yeah.
And so it left a lot of, places to jump off from and to wonder what the outcome was going to be. And you said that this particular part of it is what you would consider to be the pilot, correct?
Yes.
Which makes sense, because that's it hooks you in, and then you want to see where it goes from there.
Okay, all right. So, no, good observation, and thanks for the positive feedback. I'm gonna ask you, is there something that, that is wanting from this, something that you, some negative feedback? Is there something that was confusing or didn't land with you in any way at all that you can think of?
Not really, like I was saying, I think that it, as many times when you watch pilots to series or whatever, it has all these little tentacles that, where is this gonna go and what's gonna come with this, and her flashbacks and her, you know, that kind of thing, and I think it's done extremely well. I'm just left wanting more and wondering what comes next, which I think is good. I mean, that's what you want out of a pilot, I would think.
Yeah. Did you think there may have been too many of those things, or did you feel it was just enough, or what do you think about that?
I was gonna say that, it seemed like there were maybe just a little too many, changes of scene in a very short amount of time. And so that got me kind of impatient in terms of, like where it's going to go, as she was saying.
Okay.
I've got a question on, I'm confused, or I got a little bit confused with if there was actually a connection between the director, you know, the movie crew and the police, because the police pull this guy, you know, they pull her out, Dora out of prison to be in this movie that's, you know, so it's the movie, or, and then all of a sudden she knows everybody in the film part, and it's like, I was almost, you know, almost pulled into, had she pulled a ruse on the police to get into this movie, or, you know, get to know those people. And then, I guess it's also, it depends, you know, some of the ancillary police, or, you know, which characters go on, I guess, go on to the next, you know, the next part.
Yeah.
Episode.
So the first thing you said is you were wondering if there was some connection between the police and the people making the movie. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, you know, so how were they, you know, why was she pulled out to be in this movie, you know, unless it's a plant, or, and that's what I assumed they were putting her in the movie for, was to be.
She, so what it was is that she was, she had this connection to Lucio. And that's part of the part of the thing is actually the next episode is almost a full flashback episode where we see Lucio and Dora in high school talking about being artistic kids, talking about making a movie, and we learn some of the backstory of that symbol that they presented to her, that she went, oh my god, I've seen that before. We learn a little bit more about that. So that, I think.
But what's the quid pro quo between the police and her in the movie? Is it, you know, like there's a, you know, they want something out, you know, if they're pulling her out of jail, they want her to deliver on something.
Yes.
And that wasn't made, you know, she was rightfully asking, well, what if it doesn't, what if it doesn't go through?
Well, so that was actually explained. And maybe it needs to land better, but it was the whole thing about that logo that they had was that logo was a logo of a shell company, and they were talking about this with the Thaddeus conversation. It was a logo of a shell company that still existed, and it was different from the other shells, which were just pure fake. And the idea was to try to connect that logo to the company that it represented.
And that was being used by the movie company.
Yes, and no, the movie company is not. The movie company just happens to be a convenient. There's something happening, and they're making this movie, and it's there, and it's on the grounds where all this stuff happens. So if the idea is to get her there, she had this past relationship with Lucio. She's doing the movie, and this thing, the whole sound stage is right there on the premises of the grounds. And Pappy, who has this loathing of computers, keeps all his information, all his transactions, he keeps all his stuff somewhere. So the idea is to try to find out, somehow go through the stuff, find the information, to see if they can connect that logo to a
And
company.
so the director is Lucio's Pappy's son?
Lucio's Pappy's son.
Oh, okay. So you have this, so he has an end that he's using his family's grounds as the movie set.
Yes, he's using his family grounds as a movie set. His older brother, Drew, who we will find out, doesn't like it because Drury knows kind of what's going on. He's running the business now. Pappy's dead. The older brother, Drew, who we barely met, he's running the business now. His younger brother is always kind of doing whatever he wants. That's Lucio. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make this movie. So now we have all this cast and crew floating around, all these people that he doesn't know. So he's like, doesn't like this at all. And Lucio's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. And Jury doesn't like it for a good reason, because what is happening is that there's now this kind of undercover situation happening with all this Bedora coming in, and she is going to try to make the connections with that the police want.
Is there a reason we can't know what the crime is that they're investigating at this point? I mean, obviously she's going undercover to investigate some crime, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it comes later. It's kind of more is revealed a little bit later.
There's one line when Thaddeus is briefing Nora where he talks about shell companies and money laundering.
Oh,
Yeah, and what I mentioned this in our workshopping rehearsal last week, that my own feeling is like that kind of got buried in all the character byplay, but like that's what the feds are onto, is money laundering through Pappy's shell companies. And how much Dora actually knows about all that is something we'll have to find out in future episodes.
Yes.
But
Yes.
she's been tasked with locating the stash. And my understanding is that she's been tasked with locating the stash of Pappy's records.
Yeah, yes, and this is definitely something that I need to work on, because this explanation, it happens, but it happens really quick, and yeah, it gets kind of buried. But that's basically it. She's trying to make this connection. They have the information that this logo here represents a company that actually is still in existence. So if they can make the connection between that this thing actually represents this thing that's still in existence, they can track money. They can actually follow the money, since this thing still exists. It's not just an empty shell. Shell companies exist, and then they rise and they fall, they rise and fall. This thing, from the intelligence they have, it's still going on. And so they're trying to make that connection to this thing that's still going on, so they can basically follow the money. That could be clearer, yeah. And it doesn't need to be like all spelled out crystal clear for this, but it could be clearer at this point. I agree.
I really like the flashback that always gave more information that I felt I really needed to have. And, although, a flashback can be complicated, I think the way you sequenced the events was logical. So I could follow it, even though I have no picture in front of me of what it looks like.
Okay. And yeah, the thing with this, with my very basic rudimentary, whatever acumen of being able to gather, I mean, you have to be careful with flashbacks and make sure that they move the story forward, you know, and that's, so I was trying to be discreet in that way, and it sounds like, as far as you're concerned, I was, hopefully.
Yeah.
There weren't too many of them. I know, as I just shared with a couple people, that whole thing about the exercise that the director does, about asking a character a question, and what's the monumental question, and then there's a flashback with Shayne that's any, that's gone. I'm losing that, because that was a bit much. Because it is a bit much, I agree. There's a lot of stuff happening, and that whole thing with the question and the answer in the end, that could go somewhere else to help move things forward. Yeah, there's a lot happening, and I need to slim it down and make it a little leaner.
But I think it's really very realistic, because in any interaction, you don't get all of the information you need at the beginning. It comes slowly. And I think that was really well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That is a real, that's a nuance, and it's very, and you have to kind of work at it. It's just enough, not too much, you know, and keep it along. So I have a question. The thing about her signing her name as Sophia when we see her name as Dora, how did that land with people? What did anybody think about that?
I was glad when you did the flashback and showed her signing
Signing the name.
when she first signed it.
Yeah.
Didn't have any meaning to.
So that you actually get a reinforcement there of bringing that around within the episode. That she was Sophia at one time. So
Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think that plays in really well because the world building was very interesting. You have the seedy underbelly of several industries here. You have the prison, you have the cops, you have Hollywood filmmaking, and you have business. So my guess is anyone involved in this is not on the up and up. So I think that plays really well. And kind of going back to an earlier comment about the flashbacks, the one that got me super hooked is when they say, "Do you regret the crime?"
When they say what?
"Do you regret doing the crime?"
Okay.
She says, "Yes, but I regret more what came after." And I'm like, what else happened? You know, I thought that was great. That was very good.
Okay, well, it's interesting. That's the one thing that I'm actually cutting from there. Because once again, because it's coming. I'm gonna put it somewhere later. But I felt that, you know, there was, you know, you got the thing about signing the name and the flashback about the other thing before. Now then, she gets out of prison. She's there. She goes. There's a film. There seemed to be too much happening. And I'm trying to not let too much, it feels like there's a little too much happening.
So, one thing I was gonna say, and again, when we workshopped the other day, there was a lot of like kind of questions, because we had felt the foreshadowing, and we could feel the character and the world that was being created with these different worlds. And when we had some questions, immediately you would say, oh, in the next part, and the next part. And so that, again, it almost hooks you in this first part for ones to come. And so I think that's a delicate balance, and I certainly wouldn't get rid of the foreshadowing necessarily, because I think that is what's gonna hook you for the next few parts that are gonna come along later.
And it does make her such a layered character to know not only did she commit a crime, but there's something else going on here.
Well,
so,
you know, and that's like that's like a pretty basic, you know, you want to show that his character has some good. That's where this is leading to. You want to see some redeeming aspect to the character, and that's where this was going to. So that's why that's there. But it's just one element of so many that are kind of like, oh, there's this, and so anyway.
Maybe it's too much, but I love what you said. but I have this thought of all the different worlds which operate with
Yeah.
rules, which have a lot to do with the play is the thing by which we'll, get the conscience of the king, and that the play in the jail, the play of being undercover, the movie making, which is being played out within the scene of the greater money laundering is a game also. It is also a game. So part of it is like Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
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 It's a lot, and you can decide, but I actually like the layers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do too. I really do too, but I don't want to overdo it.
I like being hit with a lot in the beginning and then knowing that later on we're gonna parse things out and explain things. But this is really like, there's a lot of background you have to cover in a pilot, and especially one that covers a lot of different worlds. So I think probably your first episode is always gonna feel a little chaotic, but it's necessary information. So,
Yeah.
Can I say something?
yeah.
Yes.
No.
No. It reminds me kind of like, this is just a scenario. It reminds me of somebody's laid off from work, has been laid off 4 months. A bank gets robbed, and she comes out in a Lamborghini. For all that drama that was already mentioned, the sad side of me is doing something that somebody already knew you was doing, and you made an impact of the full knowledge that they was right about what you was doing, whatever that could be. And that just opens up a door for me to, cause it seemed like there was some caution in there someplace.
Some caution where?
In the scenario, in the movie, well, somebody might be doing something, but not that much. So it was like a caution thing. So if a can of worms is to be open about that movie, I'm just looking at it, and maybe I'm looking at it in a different aspect, but that's the way I see it. I always look at stuff in abstract, I'm sorry, but that's.
No, that's cool. When you say like opening a can of worms, could you?
That would be the caution that I heard you mention. Why open a can of worms if is no reason to? That reminds me of what she was saying about the drama, about being exposed. Something else is coming. If something worked, why should something else come? But by her being a criminal, something's gonna continue to come. Did you say something else might come?
Yeah, it was foreshadowing is the perfect word someone used. There's
Okay.
something else coming down the line.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big story, because then there's the relationship with Doug. She obviously was covering up something with Doug, or Doug knows the truth. So, yeah.
Fred.
Fred. Oh, okay, Fred, sorry.
Knows
So that's, that's another shady relationship going on there. Yeah.
Has the prison truth about her, does he know does Doug know anything about her past with Lucio?
Does Doug know anything about the past with Lucio?
Yeah. He's throwing her in there. And so,
He does.
Okay, so he's more of a puppet master than
No, so actually, everybody knows about the past with Lucio. All the cops know.
That's why she's being pulled out.
Yeah, they all know that.
Okay. Does Lucio know about the cops?
Lucio does not know about the cops.
Okay.
He's complete. Yeah, he doesn't.
All right, so that's the sort of.
Well, you see, that's why, for example, when Thaddeus was briefing them, so he's saying, and he put a lot of picture, and he said, okay, these are the people we're going to be stinging, so to speak. There's a picture of Lucio. There's a picture of Pappy. We're going for them.
Right. So that's where Dora has to walk a thin line between them. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is because we, something I noticed through the script is that in reading it, we hear Dora's name spoken by the narrator. It's all through the instructions that her name is Dora, but nobody calls her Dora. And so like if Mama says, Dora, you're
She
back.
did. She did call her Dora.
Okay, and, but earlier, like with
Yes.
Fred.
Okay, I'm gonna say exactly. Nobody calls her Dora in prison, and I had to do that deliberately.
Okay.
Because, all right, wait.
So then how does the audience watching know that her name is Dora?
They find out later when she goes and she's with Mama and everybody, and Mama says, "Hey, Dora." So there's more, and there should be probably more Dora mentioned there.
Yeah,
Because man, here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. She, as a teenager, she's Dora. She had severe trauma. Her dad killed himself under mysterious circumstances, which become not so mysterious later on, however. And she leaves that place with the McMaster sauce. She leaves, she goes to live with an aunt or something, and she decides, I'm changing everything. I'm changing everything about myself. This whole thing is fucked up, I'm leaving. And she takes the name of the character in the play that she was in, Sophia. She takes that name. She changes her name actually and takes the name Sophia, and she becomes Sophia and lives her life, becomes a cop, all this stuff. She's a crooked cop. There was a comment there about crooked cops and everything. She's a crooked cop, and that's how she ended up in prison, because she's a fucking crooked cop.
And sloppy.
And a sloppy crooked cop. She and Fred on a 1-2 crooked cop, dirty punch. And so her name is Sophia. She's living as Sophia. She became Sophia, and now they come back and they say, we want you to go back here. These people know you already. They know you. So and they can't trace you because you change everything. We want you to go back there. So now she's going back, and she's Dora, as she was, as they knew her back in high school. But for the majority of her, after her adult life, she's Sophia.
But I think Shayne's right. I think you need to have something at the beginning.
Yes.
So that we know that, because we're reading the script.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't caught that. Because we're reading the script, and so we see Dora. And so that flashback when she's signing Sophia, we know, oh, something happened. But they don't know that. They don't know that.
I think it should be introduced earlier, and this is the thing.
What should be introduced earlier?
The foreshadowing. The foreshadowing, and which is the thought, this is just my idea. You open with the play in the prison, and she's daydreaming, and it superimposes with her in high school getting yelled at as Dora, and then she's coming out of it and somebody yells at her Sophia.
Well, you remember the time where the other women who are jeering say, why don't you, well, how come you don't cast Miss Hollywood over there?
Yeah.
At some point, even in there, somebody puts that in there.
They're like Sophia.
But just so that we know. But
I wonder if it will confuse people, because you're like, hey, there's this TV show or whatever coming on here or there, and then it's like, is she Dora or is she Sophia?
well, see, that's the thing, is we don't know that there's been a shift because she doesn't, her name, there's no place in the script where people call her by her name.
Yeah.
Before we see, there's a flashback where she's signing her name Sophia, we don't recognize that that's anything.
Yeah.
That's any
Yeah.
change.
As much as you're trying
Because
to-
it hasn't been established that she's going by Dora.
Yeah.
You
Well,
see,
she used to be Dora.
we knew because we were reading the script and it always said Dora, but it didn't occur to me until Shayne mentioned it.
So-
So,
I know you wanna try to avoid the confusion, but I think maybe a little bit more is gonna clarify it a little bit more earlier on, and then hook us.
I could do, there's some little thing I could do there to kind of point to the fact that there's something going on. That is something going on.
I'm sorry, 2 questions.
Yeah, if I'm envisioning this as a TV show, okay, then you have the physical connection that I think maybe was a little well, difficult for me to, you know, make that transition that perhaps would be easier if, you know, the character's in front of me.
Physical.
That's probably not said the right way, but.
Could you say it again?
Okay. The whole time I was envisioning this interaction, trying to place it into the different locations, the different environments,
Okay.
the, you know, obviously the different people. But if Dora, the same face, the same person, is identified as Sophia, it just, you know, maybe it's me, but I thought that was something that would have helped me to stay more on track with her complicated character.
If Dora was identified as Sophia, yes?
Early on, when
Early on.
that she's playing a double identity.
Okay, is that what you're saying, that?
Yeah, I guess it may be that I'm pretty visual.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm painting that picture in my head based upon the interaction with the characters. But I don't know, it was difficult for me with all the different characters to keep straight who really was in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in your, in the, you know, the scene where they're, you know, where the cops are laying out what she's gotta do.
Right.
Is lay the names out there, you know, you're gonna have to go back to your old name.
Oh.
You
Yeah.
know, you're Sophie now,
Oh.
here's your paper. You know, 'cause they always do that in those things, they go, here's your dossier, here's who you are now. Well, and so then she goes, oh, that's what I used to be, but anyway.
Well, yeah, and it's, and I mean, and it needn't be,
Sorry.
that's okay, and it needn't be, you know, they're not, I mean, she knows that she's gonna have to go back, you know? It's not so much that they would have to tell her she's gonna have to go back. She was Dora then, she knows she's gonna have to go back. But we could mention it, that could be a conversation where, with them, where somebody says, yes, I guess I'm gonna be Dora again, or you're gonna, but it could be mentioned.
If it plugs in, if the cop guy knows her background anyway, he knows that she knows those guys.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're plugging in this.
It could come out in that conversation,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes,
And also,
yes,
it's
yes.
a visual medium, and sometimes it's hard presenting it in live like this. But if it were on film, you could say a lot with a visual issue. Like maybe she has a birthmark or a small tattoo of a D, and so that kind of carries it through. Like, all right, now we get there's a Dora and a D. And when she's signing Sophia, you're seeing the birthmark, small tattoo, something that carries this through. It's visual because you don't want to say too many words. It gets too wordy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was just
Yes.
it's like birds.
Oh, it's
But
not
maybe-
birds, is it? I don't.
No, that's a very good idea. So just in my head, while I was trying to work through this, I was like, they're in prison. No mention is going to be made of her name. Nobody's going to call her Dora. Nobody's going to call her Sophia. Nobody's going to call her anything. And then we see her sign on the dotted line, Sophia Smith. So we go, oh, she's Sophia, right? And then she goes back in the past. Well, not in the past. She goes back, and then they start calling her Dora, which is so there is some confusion there. But then when he shows her the script, and we see her go, this is the play we're doing, and this is the play where she got her name from, and that's where she flicks through and she sees Sophia, and she's like, shit, this is the play that I got my name from, and so
Well,
That's how-
that's more explanation than just having somebody say, you know, we're changing your name.
Yeah.
Also too, when she goes shopping, she's at Target or wherever she's at, she could buy a D necklace or whatever. I mean,
Right, right.
just to reinforce visually,
Yeah.
there are different identities to this person without having to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just throw a step out there.
Young Dora has Dora.
What's that?
Yeah, the young Dora has a necklace saying
And I love how you guys are coming up with specific times within the play that he could already, like, he can answer that, and I think that's already, like it's already kind of in place, or something
Yeah.
for you, so
It's-
that's
well,
very
it's-
helpful.
Where to?
It's
Yeah.
obvious in, you know, episode 7 or something, somebody who knows her as the S, you know,
Sophia.
Sophia, you know, from, you know, cop bad guy days is going to see Dora and say, hey, Sophia, you know, you still owe me money or whatever. That will.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
when she's walking, you know, I think that's really neat, you're setting up this line that she has to walk between these two different groups.
Well, yeah, it's part of what, yeah, and as I explained last week, it's even somewhere in episode 5 or whatever, her mind starts to crumble under the weight of these identities that she's working with, and that starts affecting her psychologically, and that's kind of part of what.
So that's I'm sorry, I'm probably talking too much, but I do right plays, I would be careful about, because I like nice people, and so I would really be, it would be tough on me as the audience if Dora is a really bad cop. You know, if she is sort of fucking around, that's okay, but if she did something to really take some, you know, to have done something really nasty, that'd be tough.
No, and that's part of it, because you want to identify with the person,
Yeah,
with some
I mean,
redeeming.
she's a great
Yeah.
character. You know,
No, well, actually, what she, and this comes in a flashback later on. They're in the pay of some senator or somebody high up, and they're hiding evidence. They're hiding evidence that and making it and implicating an innocent person, and she does that, and then she has a change. The whole thing about a question, what's a question that you ask your character? That thing. Originally, the question was, how do you like your new car? And it was Fred saying, how do you like your new car? And this was the new car that she bought from the money that she got from being a rotten cop, and it like weighed on her. It was like, how do you like your new car? And she would look at the new car and she'd be like feeling it, and then she went back to try to change things around to try to see if she could go up and Peter White. And she got caught trying to do the right thing, and she got dumped in prison.
cool.
So
Okay, well then, you know,
she's a good person.
Yeah.
Eventually, yes.
So wrongly accused is a great trope. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the areas that I found a little confusing, and kind of took me out of the story because I was trying to figure it out, is at the end, the characters named Mama and Pappy. And I'm like, is this her mother? Is this her grandmother? Is this, I'm like, I know there's a relationship, but it took me out of the story because first I thought that was her mom, or maybe her grandma, because I'm not sure what the story is. And then I'm like, no, that's not this is not like a normal mother-daughter relationship, obviously. So that kind of naming characters like Pappy and Mama just like completely blew my head.
Yeah.
It's like, is that your mom? Because she's kind of a bitch too. So it's like, you know, is that really your mom?
It was kind of arbitrary. I was looking for these terms of endearment, and it was kind of arbitrary. Yeah.
I know, that was the only point I really got confused, was the naming of those two characters and the relationship to everything.
I was totally thinking like Godfathers, like not a copy of like the Godfather,
Yeah.
the crime family. You
And
know?
they're breaking kneecaps. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
He's got like workshopping people all over town.
Yeah.
And then
Should we advertise episode 2?
Yes.
So everybody will come back and bring their family.
Bring the mamas and the hobbies, yeah.
Making of this, when you have the making feature
Oh.
after the series is done,
Oh.
about this was workshop by people and what and you had these.
Yeah, man, it's, yes.
Mervyn, could you tell people your email address or the best way to get in touch with you so that people think about questions or comments?
Oh,
Later,
sure.
they could get in touch with you.
Okay, yeah, so it's Cloudman, but instead of a C, it's a Q. So it's like QLOUDMAN. So Q Loudman.
Yeah.
Gmail.
Q Loudman.
Yeah, no, that'd be amazing if somebody was like, send me an email at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're at where?
Can't sleep
That's right.
What's the domain? QLoudman at?
Gmail.
Gmail.
Yeah. And that's interesting as well because that's usually, a lot of times, that's when 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the times it's like that. Yeah, I can do that.
It's a version of
Crowdsourcing.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, those, yeah.
Yeah, that homework.
It's just really complex, and these are really good. These are really good feedback. There's some little, you know, when you do something complex, it's like you gotta have your details. Because the devil really is in the details of when it's, and there's just a lot of levels and.
So we're gonna need to open mic pretty soon, but do you yourself have any questions left that you wanna pose to the audience?
The general progression, and this is the overall progression. Prison, you got this job, this is the nature of the job, you go back, there's this movie that's happening. Well, you know, is it believable? Is it, I mean, you know, the stories are full of really wild, wacky things that happen, but then you make them believable by how you structure it or whatever. I mean, is it believable?
Birds of a feather, and it's that creepy underbelly of all those worlds, yeah. I think so.
I think visually, it would probably, the setup, would have to tell me that the movie guys, in that family have a fair amount of money. You know, there's some, you know, or they did, you know, maybe they hit bad times or something like that, but, or grandpa died, I guess, but, you know, if you're underwriting movies and you're moving money around and stuff like that, you'd have sports cars around and horses and, you know, you'd have that whole setup that Hollywood really likes. If, you know, they just do the back lot of one of the producers, you know, and they just go to their house. Because I found, you know, when they were talking sort of about community theater and stuff like that, well, any community theater people I know, including myself, you know, you're not working in any kind of thing that would have any money, you know, would just be, it'd just be, you know, a crappy house or, you know, that kind of thing. So the trailer was kind of a, you know, an interesting thing of, well, I guess what you're getting into is some sort of class discussions of, you know, Dora sounds like she's pretty middle class or lower middle class, and
Yeah.
she came up the tough way. So, but Lucio sounds like a rich kid, you know. So,
He is, yeah.
Okay, so then, you know, him coming up with sort of a, you know, all of a sudden he's having, I guess, Gabby died and he's having to sort of save some money around, you know, to come up with a crappy trailer and stuff like that. Otherwise, he'd be the kind of guy who'd be going high dollar on everything, including drugs and money and women and, you know, stuff like that.
He is completely leeching off of the family.
Okay, so that's run out, or that's getting ready to run out, something like that?
That's what?
That's run out, the money's starting to run out?
It's, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
To happen, but yeah, he's completely just leeching, which sets up tension between him and the older brother, because not only does he have this thing that he has all these people floating around, which is not a good thing, but he's also leeching money. So that sets up a tension between him and his older brother. They have that leads to something that happens later on.
It's kind of, it was hard for me to actually follow it. I'm from Lake County, and this is a place where Zilia, Capone, and all them guys came in Chicago and down and on a real history note, came through there. Brothels, gambling, prostitution, whatever. The real stuff. And that mystique is still all over the country in sorted places. So with a little more, people in the drugs and money is usually submerged. Power. You know, even on TV, you don't have to take my word for anything. With that missing, it doesn't sound as compelling as actual fact or something that mounts to a wow from what I saw in real life to where you are, and you're doing an excellent job, don't get me wrong. But it just was, I didn't see the heavy ooh-wee stuff. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, I do know what you're saying. And that, so it's not that crime intensive. And that's white collar crime.
Okay.
I was gonna say white collar
Okay.
crime.
So
The
it's-
laundering is usually.
I've known some federal
Yeah,
penitentiary
so
guys.
it's kind of it's old white collar crime, family based money. So white collar crime is it's kind of under it's not very super conspicuous. It's all just like shell companies, money laundering.
Offshore.
So it doesn't have
But
that
it's not
amount
mob.
of it's not
Well,
mob.
maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't have that conspicuous.
It might not
muscle.
show you it was mob, but it could very well be. And why it very well be, you have to really be off into something to be connected to figure that out. Because they're not gonna come and say, hey, I'm in the mob. This is what I do for a living. When the guy was with Capone, he went and made the Sands Hotel for his guy, real life. And it's flourishing so strong that any child born under those relatives is filthy rich. But he had to step away from that, because nobody actually followed him at all. After he stepped away, he was stepped away. And believe it or not, money talks. But the Sands Hotel shows that he was still connected.
Where does this take place? Is this LA?
It was like it's at this point it's like West Coast, East Coast. It's like wait, what?
Is it West City, East City?
Yeah, the people from West City. Yeah, I think we went from from East City to West City. I think we did. So yeah, that's what I know. East Coast, West Coast. Yeah. I guess I wanted to emphasize that when Dora moved, she moved far away. She moved far, so I just kind of went East Coast, West Coast. Yeah.
So Heather, you got a question?
Well, the part that you were asking about whether it's believable,
Yeah.
I think that the part where I found it to break down in believability is that Dora just shows back up.
Is the door just what?
Shows back up. Where you been, Dora? What you been doing? If they don't know where she's been, and maybe I missed that in the reading. But I feel like if there's some level of crime there happening, even if it's white collar crime, then suspicion is high in situations like that. So to explain a little bit more about Dora's reappearance, girl, what you been doing? Where you been? What's going on? And so that kind of, there needs to be that tension. She's back, but maybe that suspicion of tension builds, and maybe you have some other, you know, you're looking to add that, but that to me is just like, she's just suddenly back, and no one's questioning it.
So I kind of addressed it a little bit with when they talked about the backstory, when they were like working on her backstory.
Maybe I just wasn't following and tracking every moment of that. I probably missed that.
Okay, no, but no, it is a good point. It's because when she was talking to Thaddeus, you know, and he goes, "What's your backstory?" And and this was the backstory that, you know, that they've concocted, and she was like, "Well, I did this and I did this and did that," and then we hear her later on talking to Mama, recapping the same backstory, her fade back.
I not even hear that. Then I mean, I guess that you addressed it, but it wasn't prominent enough that I guess that it really captured like part of the storyline for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed that. It
So,
seemed to be like an edgier bit of suspicion about her grandparents.
Well, good point. How I justify that was that what we find out later on is that she's we see here that she's a real close friend of the family. So she was in there. Tragedy happened, she left, she disappeared, nobody knows where she. So she came back, and then she has like this backstory, this is what I did, but it's just kind of like they know her, you know what I mean? It's not like she is like a regular she's not a regular undercover person where she has to come in and they don't know her, now she has to establish trust. It's not like that. It's like, we know you, we don't know where you've been, but we know you. But even so, I hear what you're saying. It may be something that, because there was a backstory talk, but it could be played up some more. It probably could be.
You've got a foothold, you've got a toehold as like a third thing to help the audience get into this into the reality of her going back when she like kind of skims through this letter of what the cops sent to Lucio, and she's saying, "Oh, as you go back, he believed this crap." You know, you've got that as like a foothold, and you could. I think if you have even one more exchange about it of that acknowledges it's been years, she completely vanished, they didn't communicate, and how did she find out about this role, and you know, things like that.
That's a good, yes.
Yeah, but you've got the beginning of that.
It's there, and more could happen. I get that because
there's some level of suspicion about her, even though they knew her. Like that builds some kind of like.
You think that if there is still some.
Yeah, like what? Door's back. Like why? Yeah.
Okay, that happens actually. Jury is definitely someone who is going. Yeah, that does happen because he's the one who's going. Holy shit! You're making this movie. All these people are around. You're taking all our money, and Dora comes back, and this happens late. This happens down the line. And Dora.
So it's building to the.
Yeah, there's a thing. there's a thing. Yes.
I just want to say I find this whole conversation fascinating because it's obvious you have this whole thing painted in your head. You know it inside and out and all the details, and then the interplay between, well, what are we getting and people getting or not understanding, and you know it all. And this interplay is fascinating as far as how you are getting across and how you need to get across what's actually in here, because it's actually incredibly fascinating just how detailed you seem to have this down.
Dude, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. This is, the exchange is fascinating and it's great because you guys are showing me some cracks or some places where it could be strengthened. But I I cannot tell a simple story, and I'm not, and I'm not like beating my chest, and I can't, I really can't, it's just, my whole thing is just to throw everything at it and then start reducing, and but when I throw everything, and there's like so much, I mean, this thing goes into almost, I don't want to say sci-fi, but it really goes into it goes metaphysical. It totally goes weirdly metaphysical, and it's just because you know.
How long was this episode?
This was I can tell you it's 43 pages.
Okay.
Which translates to 43 minutes roughly.
43, 45 minutes, something like that.
A little less, probably a little less.
Yeah, it's 43 pages. Yeah. Yeah.
The narration.
Yeah, I'll be in there.
That's true.
So at that, here's something to think about when you're going to try to pitch this. If you take out the narration, it's closer to 30. When you go to pitch it, 30 minutes is a comedy no matter what your content
Yes.
is. So you're kind of maybe gonna want to think about that. Are you gonna extend it, and then it's gonna be a drama? Are you gonna cut it? Is it going to be a comedy? Even if it's a very dark comedy, but in 30 minutes you pitch it, it's a comedy. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it was running, I think it was running more in the 40-minute range.
Sorry, what?
Well, I said, it felt to me like it was running more like it's about 43 minutes is the TV drama.
That is the TV drama thing.
Used to be 57 minutes.
Yeah.
Commercials keep knocking it down, but, and with the Netflix model, some can be 57 and some can be 43.
Yeah.
But,
I've seen it vary totally.
I did, it had a little bit of comedy, it's not a comedy, I think you're going for I think what I'd like to see is as much concentration on the Dora character in all her facets and trying to balance all these different things as opposed to becoming it's not a police procedural either, you don't want to turn it into a CIS. Yeah.
No, it's not man, okay, I know it's tired to relate and everything, but let me try to explain a little bit about let me try to talk a little bit about this, because it's so, I'm trying to write a synopsis now, and I'm catching hell, because there's so much pieces that connect, and so okay, so this happens, they have a cast party. So Duke, remember the guy that comes around, he's like, hey, you need to do the track guy, that shit.
Yeah, that.
So Duke's he's an undercover officer as well. They had mentioned that they were working with another undercover officer because that he was there already. So Duke is undercover. He's already there. So Dora now joins the thing when they kind of went, oh my God, she used to work, she knew these guys, she would be great, let's get her in there too. So Duke is there as well. They decide, all right, they're having this cast party, big Hollywood style party, all kinds of crazy shit going on. And that's a really fun episode, right? Because it was just like this party going on and all kinds of crazy shit happening. Duke goes into the room, that adjoining room, where Patty's office is sealed over because he's done all the shit that they need in there. He goes into the room, they find him, gets killed. He vanishes. They're going, what is this guy doing? Who's this guy? Oh, is he a cop? He might be a cop. I don't know if he's a cop. Okay, let's just fucking dispose of his body. He's gone. Shh, don't tell anybody. If he's a cop, somebody will come asking. We don't know where he is. All right? He disappears. Dora doesn't know where he is. She's freaking out because if it comes out that this other undercover cop is gone, this operation is going to get shut down. She's going to get jerked back to prison. Because if anything goes wrong, If it doesn't work out, she goes back. So she meets with Fred, who's her handler. Fred's her handler. And she convinces them, don't tell anybody that Duke is missing, because they meet infrequently. You don't meet with your handler, you meet infrequently. She goes, we got 3 weeks or whatever it is. We don't know where he is. She doesn't know that he's dead. She knows nothing, but she's like, look, he's gone. What the hell's going on? Don't tell anybody. I'm gonna do this. So that's where you kind of get the, what do they call it? Where things get a little bit tighter, where her motivation gets like really tight now, because now she's got to get this thing done. A short, yes, escalation. She's on the clock now, and it's right at that point she had a thing with jewelry back in the day. That starts happening. Her multiple personality thing starts crushing in on her, and she starts getting psychologically compromised, and she kind of starts going through some shit. So that's what happens at that point. Then it turns out that the sigil, the symbol, oh man.
It's freaky. It's freaky.
It's just crazy.
I would have liked to see her go back into prison and explain herself.
Where you been, Miss Hollywood?
Out on bond.
Yeah, so and then it gets weirdly metaphysical with the symbol and the Pappy and his Pappy. Pappy's a secret society dude. He's like a member of a lodge. He's got their. He's kind of Illuminati kind of guy.
Old money.
Old money. Yes. Yes, and he's.
Money, dark money.
And yeah, it gets crazy.
Okay, so my friends,
Thanks.
remember, if you have questions, comments, anything else that you want to pass along to Mervyn, it's qloudman@gmail.com.